Have you ever experienced a moment when everything around you suddenly falls silent? No past, no future, only the present instant? I have. Strangely enough, it didn't take place in a secluded temple or during a profound meditation session. It happened in the middle of a lake, surrounded by the chatter of friends I barely felt connected to. And mere minutes after that serene interlude, I came perilously close to losing my life. My name is Nestro Nan Mol, and what I want to share with you today is a near-death experience that completely reshaped how I view the world and myself. Rewind to 2020. The pandemic had the world in a firm grip, with countless people confined to their homes or restricted by uncertainty. Meanwhile, I had a job that kept me in constant motion. I was a zipline tour guide, spending long hours high up in tree canopies. The entire adventure tourism industry had shifted gears because of COVID, but we were still lucky enough to operate in limited capacity. This meant my days were spent harnessing guests, giving safety instructions, and guiding them along thrilling zipline courses that soared above rivers and through dense forests. From an outsider's perspective, my life might have seemed exhilarating, each day promising a blend of adrenaline and natural beauty. But inwardly, I was wrestling with heartbreak. I had just parted ways with my fiancée, someone I once believed I'd share my entire future with. Instead of wedding plans and a vision of happily ever after, I was left with a raw ache in my chest. Despite being surrounded by colleagues, other seasoned guides who had conquered rapids, scaled mountains, and traversed remote jungles, I felt an overwhelming sense of solitude. That sense of isolation was magnified by the pandemic. Where once we might have shared drinks and laughter around a campfire, the precariousness of the world made us retreat into our own bubbles. Even when we did gather for a meal, conversation felt guarded, overshadowed by the knowledge that life was far from normal. It was in this emotional climate that I decided one evening to break away from everyone and seek refuge at a nearby lake. I remember the night clearly. The moonlight cast a gentle glow over the water's surface, turning it into a shimmering mirror. While my friends chatted, joked, and clinked bottles, I quietly slipped away. The cool water enveloped me as I swam farther and farther out, until the shoreline lights and voices faded into soft murmurs. Slowly, I flipped onto my back, letting my ears submerge. The moment my ears dipped beneath the surface, the cacophony of the world vanished. It felt as if I had pressed a mute button on life itself. There was no past to regret, no future to fear, only the expansive sky overhead and the gentle rocking of the water beneath me. For the first time in months, I felt truly free from the weight of heartbreak, free from the relentless swirl of what-ifs that had haunted me. It was a fleeting but immeasurably profound peace. I recall thinking that if I could bottle that feeling and give it to everyone in the world, I would. To be so present, so unburdened, felt like a small miracle in the midst of a global crisis. Yet fate has a curious sense of timing. Often just when you find calm, life disrupts it in the most dramatic way possible. When I finally returned to shore, I found my friends gathered around a makeshift floating platform. They had set up a rickety old water slide, a bright blue contraption that must have seen better days, leading straight off the platform and into the lake. One by one, they climbed the short ladder, perched themselves at the top, and whizzed down with gleeful shrieks, plunging into the water below. The air was electric with excitement, and for a moment I forgot my troubles. I thought, why not? It might be exactly what I need to feel alive again. Adrenaline pulsed through me as I climbed the aluminum steps. The surface was slippery under my bare feet. I remembered laughing at how absurd it all felt. COVID restrictions, heartbreak, and here I was about to fling myself down a rickety slide in the moonlight. Sitting at the top, I pushed off with my hands, feeling the rush of cool night air against my skin as I sped downward. The initial seconds were pure bliss, like a burst of childhood joy. The wind whipped across my face, and I braced for the splash. But then, in the space of a heartbeat, euphoria morphed into terror. As I hit the water, I realized in horror that the lake was only about 2 feet deep at that spot. My head slammed into the sandy bottom with a force that felt impossible. My neck compressed, and I heard a sharp crack that seemed to echo inside my skull. Pain radiated instantly through my body, overwhelming my senses. It felt like a surge of electricity, as if lightning had struck me from within. Disoriented, I found myself pinned against the lake bed, my head stuck in the muddy sand. My limbs flailed, panic taking over as my lungs screamed for oxygen. And then, oddly enough, amid the chaos, a fleeting thought drifted through my mind. I feel like a seed being buried. The sensation was claustrophobic, yet strangely introspective. There was no time to dwell on that metaphor, however, because I was drowning. Just as my instincts pushed me to inhale, knowing full well I would be sucking in water, a soft but insistent voice spoke up within me. "Slow down." The words seemed to vibrate through my skull, and I felt an odd calm wash over me. In that moment, I stopped thrashing. I planted my feet on the bottom of the lake and realized, much to my confusion, that the water was only up to my knees when I tried to stand. How could this be? Why did I feel like I was sinking into a bottomless pit just seconds before? As I emerged, I saw tiny orbs of light, each about the size of a basketball, floating in the air around me. They flickered in and out of my vision, as if possessed of their own awareness. Whether they were the product of shock, pain, or something more mystical, I cannot say. But in that instant, they felt real. Barely able to speak, I stumbled toward my friends, who quickly noticed my distress and helped me to a nearby bench. By then, I could barely remain conscious. My head throbbed, my vision blurred, and I remember a friend asking if I was okay. I tried to reply, but the words were trapped beneath waves of pain. I felt my body going into shock, my muscles trembling uncontrollably, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. In my mind, I was screaming, "I need a hospital, I need help." But I wasn't sure if anyone truly grasped how severe the situation was. Time seemed to slow to a crawl as my surroundings dimmed. When I attempted to stand, my legs buckled. I collapsed face first onto the gravel. And that was when everyone began to panic in earnest. The ride to the hospital took a grueling 40 minutes. Each bump in the road sent fresh jolts of agony through my neck and spine. I recall grasping at the car's interior, desperate for any kind of relief, but none came. Every breath felt like it might be my last. Upon arrival, the emergency room staff acted swiftly. X-rays and scans revealed the grim truth. I had completely broken my neck. Pieces of bone were perilously close to my spinal cord, and a slight shift might have rendered me permanently paralyzed. An emergency surgery was scheduled. Before it began, they administered morphine to manage my pain. As the drug coursed through my veins, everything around me darkened, as though I were being pulled into a long black tunnel. Somewhere in that darkness, I felt my heart stop beating. My consciousness lifted away from my body. Strangely serene, I watched as nurses and doctors rushed to my bedside, calling out for more equipment, checking monitors that were now blaring an alarm. Yet I observed it all with a detachment that was utterly unlike the agony I'd been in seconds before. My awareness drifted toward a massive, ornate gate. Standing around it were 6 radiant beings. They weren't human, nor did they seem like angels from any storybook. Their glow shifted in color, from brilliant white to deep blues and soft greens, as if their light contained layers of meaning I couldn't fully decipher. They didn't speak in words, but I felt I could understand them. It was like a telepathic exchange of ideas and emotions. And although I can't recall most of what was communicated, I do remember 2 specific things. I would forget nearly everything I'd witnessed, because otherwise, I would never stop talking about it. I had to return and complete my work. I didn't know what that work entailed, but I agreed. In the moment I consented, it felt like I was in free fall, plunging through an endless void. Suddenly, I jolted back into my body, gasping for air. My heart had been restarted. The world flooded in with its usual clamor, the beeping of monitors, the sterile glow of fluorescent lights, and the urgent voices of the medical team. I opened my eyes. I was still alive. The aftermath of my surgery was a mosaic of pain, rehabilitation exercises, and fear. My neck was braced, and my range of motion was drastically limited. I struggled to do the simplest tasks on my own: eating, bathing, even turning over in bed. Yet in that space of vulnerability, something unexpected occurred. A few months into my recovery, I felt a sudden urge to pick up a needle and thread. It made no logical sense. I had zero background in sewing or crafts, and delicate hand movements were still challenging. But as soon as I pushed the needle through the fabric for the first time, I felt an unexplainable calm wash over me. It was reminiscent of that moment on the lake, a state of focused tranquility where all other noise fell away. I began stitching compulsively. With each stitch, I found myself whispering a simple prayer. May this thread bring peace to many. Over time, I realized I was creating more than just pieces of cloth. In a sense, each stitch became a meditative mantra, an invitation to weave my fractured life back together and in the process, offer solace to others. It was as if I were channeling the serenity I'd briefly touched before my accident and sharing it through fabric. Fast forward 4 years. I've dedicated over 12,000 hours to sewing, creating what I can only describe as tapestries of stillness. I've carried these works across the globe, telling people my story and watching their faces light up with understanding or curiosity. Many have asked why I do it. Do I sell them? Is it a form of therapy? A performance art piece? To me, it's a promise I made, to fulfill that work the radiant beings spoke of. Every time I thread a needle, I remember lying on that hospital bed on the brink of death and encountering a realm of truth and compassion that defied all logic. Perhaps my role is to remind people that no matter how tumultuous life becomes, there is always a wellspring of tranquility within. If you've ever felt lost, weighed down by heartache, anxiety, or the hum of daily stress, I want you to remember something. Serenity is closer than you think. Often, it's not about escaping to distant temples or exotic retreats. It can be found in the simplest of moments, in the gentle lap of water against your skin, in the quiet hum of your breath, in the repetitive motion of a needle and thread. I still recall that glimpse of peaceful oblivion in the lake, and the stark contrast of the agony that followed. Life is fragile. 1 minute, you're floating effortlessly. The next, you're face down in the sand, gasping for air. Yet in that fragility lies a powerful lesson. Cherish the present, for it is all you truly have. So now I share this message, the message I believe I was sent back to deliver. Pause. Take a deep breath. Let yourself sink into the quiet center you carry within. That, more than anything else, is the true source of peace we all seek. Whatever you might be going through, whether heartbreak or uncertainty, fear or grief, know that you are not alone in your quest for tranquility. If my journey, gently cradled by water one moment, nearly shattered by it the next, teaches anything, it's that a profound, unshakable peace does exist. Sometimes it's found in the most unexpected places, at the most surprising times. And sometimes it takes a brush with death to remind us how precious each breath of life really is. If this story resonates with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to discover more near-death experiences. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.